Welcome back to Stay Tuned with Mikey and Chad. I'm Mikey.
I'm Chad.
And generally we normally talk sports. We bullshit. We do whatever. But tomorrow is the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. So we figured no guest tonight. He and I would just kind of reminisce, discuss the events that happened 20 years ago. And, kind of just get some insights from each other, talk it out, So that's what we're going to do. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope this is I don't want it to be a downer, but, it was a huge event that changed, everyone's life, and not even in America, just all around the world. So we're going to do this, and hope you enjoy, guys. So first I want to talk about I know where I was when I saw everything happen, and I'm going to date myself because I was a freshman. God, it's been fucking 20 years, man. Do you believe that shit?
It's been 20 years since this has taken
That's
place.
insane.
And honestly, every year that 9/11 shows up on our calendar, it seems like it was yesterday.
Yeah, man. Totally.
It truly falls in the category of historic infamy. Like you said, not just for the U.S., not just for our country, but around the world. It's something that changed millions of lives all across the world, not just here in the U.S., but across the world. Mm-hmm. It kind of made everybody open up and realize, hey, there is a sector out there that they want to do harm to people. The Taliban, the ISIS, those kind of terrorist groups, they have no desire to be peaceful, and we have to remember that every day.
Yeah. So I remember where I was. I was a freshman in college, and I had classes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you remember correctly, 9/11 was on a Tuesday. I had the day off I had no classes that day. And like I said, I'm going to date myself because I was at Blockbuster returning some videos. You young kids might not know what Blockbuster is. Chad, was Blockbuster fucking awesome back in the day?
Blockbuster was the deal, wasn't it? Blockbuster, man.
God, you go there on Friday nights with your
Friday
parents.
nights, Saturday nights, man. You was hitting up the Blockbuster. You was getting
the
all the
candy and
movies.
stuff. Oh my God,
a little bit of the candy,
yeah,
man. And if you was real good, you might get 2 boxes of candy.
Yeah. So I think my girlfriend at the time, I think she and I had rented a movie the night before or whatever, and I was in Blockbuster returning the movies, and I looked. They had some TV screens in Blockbuster. They were showing the news was on, and this was early in the morning. This was after the first one had hit, but before the second one had hit. So everyone at this point was thinking, "Oh well, shit! Somebody accidentally hit the Trade Center. That sucks." They thought it was like a prop plane, like a small engine, prop plane. They didn't realize that it was a fucking 767 or whatever. So I looked at that and I was like, oh man, literally my first thought was, oh, that sucks. I wasn't thinking what
the ramifications
on the scale what was actually happening at the time. I don't think anyone really was though at the time when the first one hit. And then I went home. And I went to sleep. I went back to sleep because back then I could sleep fucking 16 hours a day. But I wake up around 11 or 12, and my TV in my bedroom was on. And literally every station was focusing on the trade centers. By this time, I think they'd collapsed. I think at least
they had hit both of them.
I think the first one had collapsed, but. And I just woke up like, holy shit, what the hell just happened? And, I think most of America at the time was thinking, when the first one hit, was thinking, oh shit, prop plane, whatever.
Devastating to the lives of those people.
Hit the Trade Center, sure. But we didn't realize the magnitude of it. And that was the scary thing. Later on that day, as we get more information, That was the terrifying thing to me.
Yeah, I can remember exactly where I was. I was on a family vacation in Florida, down in Ocala, Florida. We were visiting my grandmother, who's since passed away, God rest her soul. The day before, I'd gotten a tattoo, my first tattoo ever, a senior in high school, and I got a cross over my heart on my pec. I was in the shower cleaning up that morning, and my mother, who's very, very good about, privacy, stormed through the door while I'm drying off. Of course, I freak out. She said, "Get your ass together. They're attacking us." And I said, "Who's attacking us?" She said, "The Taliban." And at that point, I was young, naive, didn't pay attention, didn't really, honestly and unfortunately, I didn't care about what was going on in the world.
I think most of us were around that age that we were 18, 19.
Yeah.
We didn't realize what was actually going on. I don't think a lot of America actually knew what was actually going on, what had happened in the past few years. I think a lot of us were kind of in the same boat.
So I immediately I get dressed and I run out and it's on TV, and my dad is former military, very steadfast in his ways, and I could see the concern on his face. And at 18 years old, 16, 17, 18 years old, you look at your dad, he's Superman, he's Iron Man, he's hero. But when you see the concern on someone's face that's been there and done that, it kind of makes you take a step back and go, man, this is serious. This is something that we need to focus on, something that it's going to change the landscape of the world. And I remember seeing him and asking him, "Dad, are we going to be all right?" And his only words to me were, "Son, I don't know, but we need to prepare for the worst."
Yeah.
That as a 17-year-old kid, that scares the hell out of you.
Sure. I mean, we didn't know. Like how many? Because remember, for the next few days, there was no flying at all. Mm-hmm. My classmates and I the next day, we were I went to IUPUI, so we were outside, just kind of dicking around, me and a few friends, classmates, whatever, and we were like, God, it is so weird out here because you don't realize it until it happens. You're not hearing any planes.
There's no hustle and bustle of the city.
You don't hear anything, and it was so creepy. It was just very, very odd. But, it was one of those things that at the time you're like, well, this will pass. No.
And we're 20 years later still talking about it.
Well, 20 years later, and they just released the documentary on Netflix. Watch that, by the way. Turning Point.
Incredible.
Turning Point on Netflix. Really, really good. There have been a million documentaries about 9/11. I totally understand. But this one really digs deep. It goes back to the 70s. It goes back to the 80s. It goes because what happened was in the Cold War era, the U.S. supplied guns, money, all this shit to Afghanistan because Russia was trying to take over Afghanistan. So we stepped in, thinking we were helping. I don't know what the government was thinking. To me, it seems like we thought we were helping them out.
We thought we were creating an ally.
Right. And once the Cold War is over, they've got all these fucking guns, missile launchers, and everything. And it's basically, fuck the U.S. We're going to try to take them out. And, you look and you see, Reagan gave all this money to the Taliban. But back then, they were an ally that we thought. And you look at it now, you're like, why the hell would he give money to the Taliban? But at the time, they were fighting the Russians, and they
were a hidden sector at that time. They weren't pronounced back then like they are now.
Nobody,
they didn't. There was no such thing as YouTube and social media and shit for them to put their propaganda out there.
Yeah.
So they stayed relatively hidden.
Yeah.
And that's something that people don't understand. As we go through this process leading up to tomorrow, it's not something that people can take for granted because they were there. They've always been there. It's not something that just showed up in the early 2000s.
Right.
This is something that's been brewing and culminating through the process of time for the last 40 years.
And they played us.
Absolutely.
Played us so well. But and that's not because, I mean, you look at it now. Like I said, you look at, oh my God, why would you give money to the Taliban? We didn't know. We thought they were on our side.
We were trying to create an ally,
and that was because nobody knew before the late 90s. I would say nobody could point out Afghanistan on a map. This was not a power nation. This was not a nation that was, everyone knew about. This is a small country that nobody cared about. But they were quietly building this regime of Taliban, and man, they pulled it off. And it to this day, I mean, we pulled out of Afghanistan a couple weeks ago, and
according to our government, I will say that. For our viewers that don't know, or our listeners that don't know, we differ in opinion on a few things, but that's what makes our connection as co-hosts so strong, is because we do differ in opinion, so we can run the gamut with everyone. Sure. And everyone can, it not necessarily pick a side, but they can see both sides of the spectrum.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we don't take offense to anything. We have our own opinion, and we respect one another for it.
Right.
Just like the whole country should do. Unfortunately they don't. Respect one another's opinion. Respect one another's thoughts. Because this world would be a whole lot better place if we do.
Man, and that's one thing that I've always... the crazy thing was, what if Twitter, what if Facebook, what if all that shit had been around when 9/11 happened? How much would that have changed everything? Because
it would have shut the internet down.
We saw what happened on the news, on TV. There was no, we have the internet in our pockets right now. We can look up anything we want right now. Back then it's crazy to think that. It's been 20 years, and back then we didn't have, I had a cell phone, quote unquote, at the time, which was literally a phone. It didn't do anything else. It didn't text, didn't do shit. But I wonder if we had this technology then, what in the hell kind of shitstorm would that have caused online, and especially against, Muslims, against whatever, against any people that you might assume might be against the United States.
The aftermath of it, I truly think would have been disastrous. I really believe that. We have Muslim Americans and we have Afghani Americans, that are wonderful people. They're outstanding people. They're pillars of the society. And they would have felt the wrath of that, unfortunately. And I truly believe that. And I don't think that's where our country needs to go. Because think about it like this, everybody. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. It doesn't matter your skin color. It doesn't matter your culture. If someone treats you with respect and treats you kindly and is going to be a productive part of our society in the U.S., welcome them, accept them with open arms, and treat them the same as you would your own family.
I've got a sidebar. I've got a sidebar here. Okay. You're not a fan of bringing the Afghanis.
I'm not. I truly am. I'm not.
So I'm not as strongly opinionated as Kim, but Kim is my girlfriend. She and Chad go back and forth, and they love each other, but they've got their differing opinions. But so these people that are trying to come here, and this is totally off topic. It's not totally off topic, but we're kind of going in a little different direction for a moment. Why would you not want to accept these people here? I understand we have homeless vets. We have homeless people.
Oh, no. You don't get a preface. You just get to say your opinion, and I get to tell mine.
No, because look, there's a good look. I have a yesterday. Look, okay, yesterday I'm on my lunch break. I go up to a fast food restaurant, Go through the drive-thru. A guy with the drive-thru mic on. A guy with the drive-thru mic on says, "Sorry, we're not doing any orders right now because we don't have any employees." So your thing was, we need to help the vets. We need to help the homeless people. Dude, so many fucking jobs out there right now. I could literally blindly pick a spot and they'd be like, yes, we need 10 people right now. So I don't, the whole help the homeless, help the vets, I understand we need to help the vets. A lot of homeless people want to be homeless. You offer them...
And I can't argue that. I will not argue that. That is something that I will not argue. My biggest problem is, and I have a lot of veterans in my family.
Sure, I do too. I mean, I'm not slamming veterans. I mean,
fortunately for me, those folks haven't come home from wartime or being deployed with the PTSD, with the disablements. They're missing limbs, they're missing this. They've been very fortunate in that. But then I look at the other side of the spectrum with those that have, the PTSD, they have the physical ailments. And the VA is one of those places that they're doing everything they can. They're completely understaffed, just like Taco Bell or McDonald's or wherever you pick. Just pick one, they're all understaffed. But the problem I see isn't these places are understaffed and that people don't want to go to work. It's that our government keeps giving out all this free ass money, and it's keeping people from having to go to work. They don't have to go to work because they get $500 a week for stimulus money. They get $1,500 a month in food stamps. They get all this extra bullshit that us middle class guys, you and I are truly the middle class. Yeah. And we're paying all this for these people.
I understand that, but I'm
not okay with that.
I wouldn't say I'm totally okay with that, but I feel better about myself because I get up and go to work every day and earn my living. I couldn't sit home, and we're getting so off topic of 9/11, by the way. I couldn't. I would feel like a bum if I sat at home every week and collected a check, even if it paid all my bills. I wouldn't want to do that.
But there's people out there that are okay with that.
And
we're supplying the finances for those people instead of urging them or pushing them into a situation where, okay, I've got to go get a job and I got to be a productive part of society. Yeah. That's where I kind of draw that line. And going back to the military, these people, they sacrificed their lives, literally. Some of them didn't make it home.
I've friends from high school that didn't make it back. I totally understand.
So those people deserve the extra that we're giving to these people that don't want to do anything. They don't want to work. They want to live off the government. They want to live off society.
Right, and that's my point, though, because you're talking about homeless people. And that's what you mentioned yesterday is we should help the homeless. But now you're saying that we don't need to help them because they're getting all these handouts. Which one is it, though?
Homeless veterans, to me, is a different line than just homeless.
I feel like homeless veterans is not really a thing. Honestly, not a thing. I think there are veterans that are homeless. I understand. But I don't think it's a major issue in this country. All the veterans that I know from either high school or family or whatever, they've all got jobs. They all work. They'll have families. They'll have houses. But
you have to.
I've got military friends, ex-military that have PTSD. They still go to fucking work every week, man. I can't get behind the whole. We have to help the veterans because they're homeless. I don't see that. There are cases, yes, but I mean, just because you see an old guy with a sign that says Vietnam vet, please give me money. Was he really a vet, or was he just trying to get money?
And that I agree with. And that's why where my time and finances go into different places and organizations, such as tomorrow. I'm going to fish a tournament on Monroe Reservoir, local reservoir here in Indiana. that is being affiliated with the Wish for Our Heroes Foundation. That's something that I feel obligated to do because of my family background. And we can steer off topic. Let's look at something like, us middle class. What if the coronavirus? What if you're off for a week?
You still get paid.
Exactly. Why do we get paid? Because we, as the middle class, continue to pay into that. It's not the upper class. It's not the rich. The rich aren't being taxed like we are. We're paying for everyone.
Man, don't start because we're getting way the hell off topic, and I could go on about how much the rich actually pay because I've seen tax returns from from people that are in the top 1%, and they actually are paying more than their fair share. They're paying almost 50% of their income. How much more do you want them to pay?
When you're worth $150 billion, like a Jeff Bezos,
you pay 50. How much do you want them to pay?
What does he do to earn that?
He started a multi-billion-dollar company, worked his ass off to get there.
But did he work hard? Nobody knows.
Hell
you can't agree with that. Nobody knows,
dude. You don't get to say an Amazon. You don't get to a multi-billion-dollar company without working your fucking ass off for years and years. It doesn't just get handed to you. That's asinine, man. I'm sorry, but
that's not true because there's a lot of companies out there that have everything handed to them. Their families are wealthy, so they get it handed to them, and they're not.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying guys that start a company from the ground up bust their asses for years to get to where they're at. Sure, there's trust fund kids. There's kids that get, they grow up in a family, like say Walmart, for example. They grow up in the Walton family, and they get handed all this shit. Sure, right. I get that. I totally understand that, but there's plenty of companies out there where the owners or the CEO, the founders bust their ass for years and years just to get this company off the ground, and then they get rewarded for it, for how successful they are. I don't see the problem in that.
No, but that's capitalism.
That's capitalism at its finest. I love capitalism, and I'm not even a fucking conservative. I love capitalism. I think capitalism is great.
I don't disagree, but let's make sure that you're not taxing the middle class above and beyond what the capabilities of them paying are.
I don't think they are, though. I mean, so we get taxed, what, 25%?
27%.
27%.
27% on a $1,000 check every week's a lot of money.
The top 1% gets taxed 50%. I feel like they're paying their fair share.
But here's the problem. Yes, they're getting taxed 50%. But when tax write-offs and all this other shit comes along, they're getting 40% of that back. They're not paying it out and it's being gone.
Possibly.
They're not paying it out and it's being gone. They're paying it out, yes, up front or for that calendar year, but then it comes right back to them. So they're really only paying 10%.
Are you sorry? You think everyone in the top 1% is doing this?
How can you argue they're not? They're every single one of these companies, they finance football stadiums, they finance baseball stadiums, they pay out for all these sponsorships.
I know
all this stuff.
I know there's tax breaks.
There's huge tax breaks for the wealthy. Where does the middle class get a tax break?
Shit, man.
We don't get a tax break. I don't. I don't get a tax break.
Talk to my ex-wife. She gets. So I pay child support every week. I get a nice chunk of my check taken out.
Yeah. Do you see all that back? All but 10%? No. Nobody does.
But also, and it's. I don't mean to get personal. She gets the child tax credit every year.
There you go.
And that's thousands of dollars that she's getting that I'm, whatever. It's fine because I want my kids to be happy and I want my kids to be, I want them to have a nice.
You want them to be well taken care of.
Have a nice place, have nice clothes, whatever. But I mean, so I don't mind it honestly. I'm not a greedy person. I don't care about paying my fair share. I don't think most of the top 1% cares about paying their fair share either. I don't.
Well, they're not going to care when the money comes right back to them.
Well, I don't think that happens with all the.
And it may not be all. It may not be 100% of the 1%.
I don't even think it's 75%. I don't think it's that much, because you have to realize how many of the top 1% donate to so many charities every year.
And you know why they donate? Because a charitable contribution is a tax write-off.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
So there again, I'm continuing to make my point that these companies and these huge profile people, they're donating all this money because they don't care. They can donate 100% of their profits, but they're going to see 90% back.
I feel like a lot of them really care about whatever charities they're donating to, and it's not just because of the tax write-off.
But do you believe it's that singular person,
it's not
or if it's the company as a whole that actually cares about it?
It's that person. I guarantee it's that person. But I'm sorry. We are here.
We are strangely off topic. Let's move back. Let's move back to 9/11.
9/11. How the hell did we get off on that? But anyway, like I said, Turning Point on Netflix. You really need to watch that. It goes back so many 30, 40 years back to the start of the Taliban, how they became almost a world power. Well, I think what happened was we were talking about it, and then, we gave the power back to the Taliban a few weeks ago. And what I don't know. For me, I thought, what kind of sense does that make? I'm a realist. I'm not on either side of the fence, but I'm like, why the fuck would you do that? Because you know that they're not on our side. Why the hell would you just give it back to them? Because that could also mean another attack on America. That could mean a lot of things. That could mean people persecuted and killed in Afghanistan. Why would we give all the power back to them?
That I agree wholeheartedly with you. I unfortunately think that another attack, maybe not on U.S. soil, but another Taliban or ISIS or whatever the hell you want to call them, attack is imminent. And it may not be on U.S. soil, but it could be one of our allies. It could be England, it could be France.
I mean, there have been plenty of terrorist attacks in other countries too.
Yeah, and it's terrible because it's taken innocent lives.
Yeah.
That's the part that really gets me fired up is you're attacking innocent lives, women, children, innocent men they have nothing to do with this conflict. They're just trying to live their lives and better themselves and take care of a family more so than clearly what the Taliban or ISIS are doing.
Yeah.
They persecute their women. They treat their women like scum. They treat their children like scum until they reach a certain age where they can brainwash them into being a Taliban member.
Let's make it clear. We're not talking about Muslims. We're talking about
it's not Muslim. It is 100% not a Muslim. The Taliban and ISIS are not factions of the Muslim faith.
Right.
Period. Point
well,
blank.
I'm glad you agree with that.
100%. I don't give a shit what your race, your religion is, because when it all breaks down, like I said earlier, it's about how you treat your neighbor, your friend, your family, the person at the fucking grocery store. My little girl is 8 years old, and when we go to the grocery store together, or we go wherever we go, to the mall or whatnot together, I always say, "Hi, how are you doing?" to someone that works there. Ask them how their day's going. The reason I do that is because maybe they're having a shit day.
Yeah. And
just someone showing a little bit of kindness and gratitude and care about what they're doing could keep them from doing something crazy. And I don't mean crazy in a terrorist.
No,
they don't go home. They don't go home and kick their dog.
Yeah.
They don't go home and smack their wife around. They don't go home and hurt themselves.
You mentioned that. That's something that I think we forget. Remember after 9/11, everyone was so nice to each other. Like it was.
This world was genuinely.
It was literally.
This country was the best it's ever been after 9/11.
We were so joined in.
United.
We were so united. That's one thing that I'm like, God damn it! Like you look at how we were back then, and it was, you see a police officer, you see a firefighter, whatever, and you
thanked them.
These guys are fucking heroes, man. Now you see a cop, and it's like fucking pig. What the hell happened in the past 20 years? I mean, I understand there have been a lot of...
There have been instances where that portrays a negative light.
Sure, but I think that's always happened. God, I wish we could get back to that, man, because that was one of those things where, I mean, we were so united, and it felt so fucking good, man. I mean, my God, it was just amazing. I mean, why can't we have that now? I know it sounds like some peace, love, happiness bullshit, but why can't you see so much hate spewing on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever, and it's like, it's so fucking draining, man. Like, why can't we just we were so united. We should be united now. And there's so many things that get in our way. It's whether it's COVID, whether it's obviously the recent events that happened where we pulled out of Iraq, or out of Afghanistan. I'm sorry. Why can't we just? God, I mean, that was for such a tragic.
Those were good times.
For such a tragic event, to come out of that and be so fucking united was an amazing thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm from south of Indianapolis, here in central Indiana. I grew up in the sticks. I grew up riding dirt bikes, riding quads, fishing, hunting, living off the land. That's just how I grew up. But one thing that my parents, and I will absolutely die preaching to my kids, be kind to everyone. There's no reason to be hateful or rude. It doesn't matter what color they are, what their religion is. It doesn't matter what walk of life they came from, whether they're a bum living on the street or they're the richest man in the world. Be kind to people.
Man, that's the thing, because you could... we have good lives right now. We both have good jobs. We're doing our thing. Man, you never know what could happen. We could be that bum living on the street
Absolutely.
in 6 months. You never know what could happen.
No, and I would hope that
you wouldn't want people to treat you like shit. You'd want
I would want them to treat me the way I treated the other people that I walked across when I was walking in downtown.
And the sad
thing,
I
was walking across when I was going somewhere. Just treat people with respect.
The sad thing is that probably wouldn't happen. You'd probably get treated like shit.
You would.
Because most people aren't... I'm sorry to generalize. Most people are pretty selfish and they don't care about other people.
No, and it's truly sad that the world we live in right now, I'm not saying that everyone is great people. I'm not saying that everyone is perfect. But what I'm saying is, if you give someone the respect and dignity as a human, maybe they'll change their life and go, hey, you know what? This dude treated me great. He didn't have to, but he did.
It's all
maybe
about,
I'll treat the next guy that way.
Yeah, it's all about starting that process of, kind of, it's almost like a paying it forward thing, but, not quite.
It's a generalizing paying it forward.
Yeah. Remember when, and this is kind of a parallel too, because 9/11, we were all united. Remember when COVID first broke? We were all kind of like, all right, we're in this together. We need to stick together to get through this shit. And then, politics came into it and all this bullshit. And then now we're all divided again. Mm-hmm. And it's more bullshit, man. We don't need that in this country. We need solidarity, man. Yeah. That's the only way we're going to survive, because as of right now, we're not a leading nation in the world. And it's sad to say, because, growing up, we knew U.S. was number one. I'm going to sound like Borat. U.S. number one. But we're not that anymore.
No.
We're other countries look at us and laugh.
Because we're fucked up.
Yeah.
We can't even treat our own people with respect and dignity.
Yeah.
And it doesn't... Again, I'm going to continue to go back to this, because that's where I stand. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what ethnicity you are. I don't care what your religion is. Fucking treat people with respect. Treat people kindly. Ask them how their day's doing. Shake their hand. Just a smile and a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening.
Try to shake their hand, they might fucking shank you.
But that shit goes a mile. You know what I mean? It goes a mile for people. There's bad people in the world. I will never argue that. But God damn it, let's just respect one another. I don't care what side of the government you are. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or Independent. I don't give a shit. We can differ in opinion and still get along.
You and me, man.
We're a perfect example.
I mean, you and I hang out and fucking talk sports and shit, and our families get together and hang out. But we don't, there's a lot of shit we differ on. It's fine.
It doesn't kill us.
We just don't talk about that shit when we're together, except on the podcast. But I mean, yeah, and that brings me back. It goes full circle. So like, this past year and a half, whatever, we started out strongly together, and now we're divided again. Back in September of 2001, we were all united, and then in 2002 we invaded Iraq, and then shit hit the fan because everyone's on opposite sides, and that's kind of when shit happened, and you pick a side, whether you're for it or against it. And when Saddam Hussein was murdered, I mean, was that a good thing for the United States? I don't know, because he wasn't even the one we were going after. It was bin Laden. Was that just a? I don't want to say. Was that just a? Hey, we did this to this guy, but he wasn't even the one behind all this shit.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
There's when it comes to me, I'm of the utmost belief in. I don't wish death on anybody. I don't care if you're my worst enemy or not.
Were you happy when they killed bin Laden though? Be honest.
I don't know. I wasn't happy.
I was happy.
I wasn't happy because, again, I don't wish death on anybody. But did they rid the world of one of the most powerful people that wanted to hurt?
No, they're stronger now.
But he was the headstone of that at that time.
It was just a symbol. Him, the SEALs going in to his compound, killing him. That was just a symbol. Because you know how many fucking, people like they have in the Taliban that are up high. That was symbolic. Is what that was.
Sure.
The Taliban's going to go on with it. Obviously, it's been fucking
there's going to be another rise to power.
It's been 10 years, and the Taliban's still going strong.
Yeah.
So it was just a symbolic measure that when we killed him, and it felt good at the time, but you knew that's not.
There was going to be another person rise to power to take over the Taliban.
You knew that's not going to stop them, because they've been going strong for, we didn't realize, but for 30 plus years.
Yeah, and I can wholeheartedly agree with you on that. And that's where I preface by saying I don't know that I was happy. Was I a little more comforted at that time because he was gone? Because he was the one, calling the shots against the U.S., against Americans, against all these other foreign nations that...
But who even knows if he was actually calling the shots? He could have had 10 people underneath him that were doing all his legwork for him.
And that's very true. But just like the President of the United States, it all has to go through him. Or the shot caller for a gang, or whatever it may be, anything that is structured in a militant form. Those people have to agree with what the hierarchy says, and the hierarchy starts with our president, with a bin Laden, with a Saddam Hussein, with those people, because if they don't, what's the ramifications? If they go wayside, from what those people are trying to accomplish,
they'll fucking kill them.
Exactly. So those people aren't going to differ from what this man or this woman has to say, and it's going to fall down through the hill.
Yeah. So I want to get back to the actual events of 9/11. 3,000 people died, and this is a somber subject. I mean, 3,000 innocent people. Well, 2,997, I guess, whatever. We'll round up. But, God, man. I mean, that's just devastation. And I've actually been to the 9/11 memorial. I went there, I think, 5 years ago. Man, it's one of those things you go to. I wasn't expecting to really have as strong emotions as I did. But when you're there, so it's got the outline of both buildings, and then it's got every name of every person that died in the 9/11 attacks. On these it's like a big like plaque thing or whatever. But you walk around and every fucking name is on there, dude, and it is very. I mean, it touches you so much. I didn't realize I was going to get that emotional, honestly. But
I don't think I could go there.
I mean,
I want to very badly go there, and I want to pay my respects to those, and I also want to pay my respects to all the men and women that were first responders to that situation. But I truly don't. I don't know if I can go there without feeling hatred toward that organization.
Well, I didn't feel any hatred when I went there. I just felt it was just emotional. It was sad. I wasn't
a truly somber feeling.
It was really somber, and that was the thing. There's like music, like somber music playing in the background. Man, it'll like if you're not a crier, because I'm not a crier, damn near brought me to tears. But it's one of those things that you realize, holy shit, and the magnitude of what happened, it blew me away, and I don't think we'll ever get over what happened.
No, it'll live.
I mean, it'll
live in infamy for the rest of our lives and our children's lives.
Yeah, it was the biggest attack on American soil, and hopefully, it will continue to be the biggest attack on American soil, because
hopefully it's the last attack.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Hopefully that will be the biggest ever, and we won't have any bigger, because you never know. Other nations are growing, and they're growing their militaries.
Yeah, and something that people forget. Yes, the 2,997 people that perished in that attack, it changed their lives forever because they're gone. But it also changed thousands of lives,
millions
that were attached to those people.
I mean,
those children's dads or moms.
I would say millions, because I had even people here in Indy that knew people that were in the Trade Center that died.
It's truly devastating.
We're 1,000 miles away from there, and I still knew people here that knew people there. I mean, there were so many,
the ties.
Yeah, just the ties of it, man. Like the degrees of separation. You realize that
it's pretty minute.
Yeah, I mean, I personally did not know anybody that was in World Trade Center or the Pentagon or on Flight 97 that landed in Pennsylvania. But I've got plenty of friends that knew somebody in one of them. Mostly World Trade Center, because that was the biggest one. But it's crazy how far that reaches.
Yeah.
And man, dude, seriously, that Turning Point documentary.
It's really good.
You hear the last message, because a few people had cell phones on these planes. You actually get to hear the last messages. I wouldn't say get to. You have to hear the last messages these people send to their loved ones, their kids. Man, it's just devastating.
If as a nation and as a U.S. citizen, as an American, that doesn't catch you in your feelings, man, you've got a problem. Because I don't care who you are. You hear someone talk about, I'm getting ready to die. And that's coming from a loved one. That's devastating.
Yeah.
I personally, Mike, I think this is a good place to call it a night.
Sure.
All those first responders around the world, all our military, anybody that's doing things to keep us free and protect us so that me and Mike can do the things that we're doing. God
so that
bless
all of
you.
us can do the things we're doing.
Just God bless you, and thank you so much for it. It doesn't go unnoticed. I truly believe that. If there's something more we can do, reach out. Y'all have a way to contact Mike and I. We would do anything in the world for you guys. Our prayers are with the families from 9/11. Anybody that's affected from 9/11, our prayers and our loves with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that really just, you look back on it, you go day to day, you don't think about it. But those 2-3 days a year where coming back to 9/11, you really start to reflect. And, man, I mean, you see all the images again. You see the people jumping out of the building from 110 floors up. It's just heartbreaking. I mean, we like to have a kind of upbeat, light show, but I felt like today it was kind of we need to show our appreciation, our respect for all the first responders, like Chad said. All the police officers, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, whatever, that didn't just show up there, but went inside the buildings and tried to save as many people as they could. And that's something I'll admit I could never fucking do. I cannot do that. And I think a lot of people need to realize that what they did and what these first responders continue to do is dangerous, very dangerous. And they're putting their lives on the line every single day to make sure that we're safe. So, I hate to have a downer show, but, it has to happen occasionally. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned with Mikey and Chad, and we will be back soon. And we'll be probably talking sports, but yeah, tonight was just it was a night to reflect and kind of get our feelings out, because we both experienced the 9/11 attacks and the 19 years after that, where we were still, fighting in Afghanistan, and we felt like we needed to get all of that out. So. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good night, and really, like I said,
just be kind to one another, please. Be kind to one another.
To the first responders, we're all behind you, and like he said, be kind. Stay tuned, guys.
Thanks, guys.